We're joined today by the one and only Greg Norton from Hüsker Dü and his new band UltraBomb. They've got a new album out. It's called Dying to Smile. Greg, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. It's an honor speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking my call.
Well, first of all, can you tell us a bit about UltraBomb, maybe for the listeners who haven't heard the news? I know you've been with them for about 2 years or so now.
Yeah, so UltraBomb, let's see, we're coming up, the end of the summer, it'll be 3 full years. And we basically got together through the magic of the internet. So Finney McConnell, our guitar player, lives in Toronto, and he's in a band called the Mahones, and he reached out to me in the summer of 21 and saw that I wasn't playing music at the moment and said, hey, let's put together a band. And he's like, I know this guy, Jamie Oliver, who's the drummer for the UK Subs. And Jamie lives in London, and he contacted him, and the three of us got together virtually. And then in September of that year, I actually flew to Berlin, Germany, to meet these guys to see if it was like going to be something real. And we got into a studio and recorded our first record, Time to Burn, in 4 days. And it felt like we had been playing together forever. I mean, literally, it's that lightning in a bottle kind of thing. And we were like, holy crap, we just met each other and we just recorded a punk rock classic. So Time to Burn officially, finally, made it out into the hands of the public and on about a little over a year ago for the vinyl anyway. And we did a tour last May with the Barstool Preachers. We played punk rock bowling, which was an awesome experience. We toured again in December in England with the Barstool Preachers, returning the favor. And while we were in London, we recorded our second record, which is called Dying to Smile, and it comes out next a week from tomorrow on DC Jam Records. And again, we recorded another record in 4 days. So wrote and recorded, and very happy with Dying to Smile. We just did East Coast run opening for Me First and the Gimme Gimmes in April. I was just out at Punk Rock Bowling for the weekend, hanging out and talking to people. And, the response has been really great. And later this summer, we'll be back out on the road. At the end of this month, the only gig we have scheduled at the moment is we're playing Hellfest in Clisson, France on June 27th. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Obviously things worked out, as you mentioned, kind of meeting online, and that new album, Dying to Smile, is coming out. So was it basically the same kind of recording process? You guys kind of wrote it as you were recording it in the studio?
Yeah. So for both records, basically, we would, got into the studio. We all live in 3 different countries, so it's hard to get together to collaborate on things. But basically got into the studio. Finney had a lot of really great riffs. We would work things into an arrangement. I write all of the lyrics, with the exception there's one song on the new album that Jamie wrote and actually plays all of the instruments on that track. But yeah, so we would go in, we'd work out the arrangements, get them recorded, and then on the last couple of days, we take my lyrics and we figure out where they fit, and then we have a song. So pretty much the process. We're hoping for the next record we have a little bit more time to work on stuff, because it's exciting, but it's hectic and it can be nerve-wracking. But for us so far, it's turned out great both times.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I know the 3 of you have obviously had experience playing at high levels for a long time, and you've had experience dealing with big personalities in your previous band. I mean, it sounds like it's easier for you nowadays. Maybe things kind of just fall into place a little more easily and things are more laid back.
Oh, definitely. I would agree with that. Yeah, and that's it. It's, we're all seasoned professionals. So, and we each are, we're really good at what we do. So I mean, that makes things a lot easier as well.
Well, you mentioned being out on the road, and you're going to be coming back here, hopefully through this way, Minnesota. How is it after all these years playing in Minnesota? Obviously, you played a lot of shows here back in the day.
Well, I love playing in Minnesota. Obviously, it's my home turf, and the crowds have always been really great and very appreciative of in all of the different bands that I've played in here in Minnesota. We did a show at the Hook and Ladder at the end of our tour on May 9th. That was the last show, and it was great. It was everybody had so much fun. It was an epic evening.
Well, Greg, can you talk a bit about the early days with Hüsker Dü and your memories of kind of the whole scene in Minnesota back in the early 80s there? I mean, so many different bands and styles and a lot of huge bands, kind of all breaking at the same time. That was quite the period.
Yeah, Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. I mean, Hüsker Dü was a St. Paul band, so it was a great time. There's still a very strong scene here today, but it seems in pre-internet days, it was a bit more of a community, because the only way that you could find out about new stuff was you had to go to the club. So, everybody would show up to check out new bands and support touring bands and things like that. Nowadays, and this doesn't necessarily just go for the Twin Cities, but like everywhere, because people have access online to kind of check things out, it seems that it's a little bit more splintered with sub-scenes inside the scene, and there's not as much community feel to it anymore, which in a way is kind of sad. It's back in the early days, it was everybody went and supported everybody else. And you're right. There are so many great bands that, Suicide Commandos and the Suburbs and the Replacements and Hüsker Dü and, Soul Asylum coming up and the Magnolias and, Arc Welder and, it's just so many great bands, Rifle Sport, Man Size Action. I mean, I could keep rattling off names, but it was a really fun time.
And I know Zen Arcade, actually 40 years old this year. And, the amount of bands who point to you and Hüsker Dü as a major influence, that's got to be pretty humbling for you. And, the fact that you're still out there doing it is awesome.
Yeah, it is humbling. And I'm always very appreciative when people come up and say, like, hey, your music really helped me through a difficult time in my youth. And, Zen Arcade is a record that a lot of people point to as, changing their lives in a good way. So, punk rock does save lives. And, I feel that punk rock has saved my life a couple of times. It's something I'll never be tired of hearing, but because I am so grateful that we were able to make a difference in people's lives.
And I know you mentioned touring with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and that's got to be interesting, I guess, for you starting out with a brand new band and kind of starting off from scratch and, playing or opening even maybe for some bands who obviously probably owe a lot to you and your old stuff. I mean, that's got to be interesting for them even to be sharing the stage with you.
Yeah. It was a really great tour, and and the Defiant were the other band on the bill, and that was basically you had each individual band, each member of each of those groups could go on and tell you all sorts of stories, and it was. You start out at the beginning of the tour and you're just starting to get to know people, but then after a few days, and then people start coming up and it's like, hey, I really, appreciate the work that you guys did and everything that you did for punk rock and for music and that's great. But it's, being on the road with a couple of other bands, you form like these lifelong friendships now, like, cause hey, we all just did this tour together and every tour has its it's challenges and it's rewards, but it's they're it's a big extended family. So met a lot of really great people from both of those bands, and like I said, some lifelong bonds now. So it's great.
Well, I know the new album, Dying to Smile, is just coming out here, and you mentioned some shows coming up later. You guys obviously are getting things out here pretty quickly, so is there something else maybe already in the works or something else we should be watching out for?
Well, definitely more, tours coming up. Ideally, we will be back in the studio to record the third record at some point later this year. We're pretty much, we have all of the material. It's just a matter of knocking it together and like I said, coming up with the arrangements and putting the lyrics to it. I would say that that's something, that people can look forward to, and right now there is a single off the new record that's been streaming for a couple of weeks, called Rage Bomb. People can find it on their favorite streaming channels, Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that. And I would encourage them all to go and listen. And if you like it, save it, share it, follow us, all of those things that you have to do to feed the algorithm these days for a band to remain kind of relevant to people's feeds.
Yeah, definitely a change of pace from the old days, having to put up flyers and kind of doing everything on foot. Now it's definitely all moved online.
Right. Yeah, in the old days, you just go hang out at the record store and see what's new. Find out what's coming through town. And today, it's and just as a alternate revenue stream for musicians. I mean, it is really important for people to understand. It's one thing to go and stream it once, but if you like it, follow the band. If you like it, save it to your device, put it on a playlist, share it to friends. That goes with, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, all that stuff.
Awesome, man. Again, Greg, the new album here, I'm excited for that, and I love the new single, and it's been an honor speaking with you. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you. Yeah,
thanks. I appreciate you taking the time to talk.
And again, that was Greg Norton, formerly of Hüsker Dü, currently of UltraBomb. The new UltraBomb album, Dying to Smile, is out now.